My first question is, tell me about your company and how long you've been doing it, and just give me a high level.
Sure. So for the past 20, going on 23 years in January, I've owned the CMOOR Group, and we operate as an ed tech firm focusing on the security, fire, and life safety industry.
Okay.
So we have a learning management system we built from the ground up for that industry. We have a compliance management system. We built a lot of e-learning, both CEU approved and specific to the partners' content as well, their products. And so that is what I do all day, is talk to people about training, basically, from a security perspective.
It's a very interesting niche that you've got.
Yeah, it is. When I first started the company, I was actually in my car driving to the unemployment office and turned my car around and said, I don't fault anybody that takes unemployment, but it just wasn't for me. And so I went back home and told my husband we had an opportunity and I think I want to pursue it. And, are you in or not? And he said he was in. And so we started the business. I had the training and sales background, and he had all the marketing and graphic design background. And so for the first few months, it was just he and I. And then we added an employee, I guess about 6 months in. And then it's just, that was 23 years ago. So
Wow.
It was funny though, because we were working out of our home then. And now here we are 2 years into a pandemic, and I've got everybody working virtual. So it feels like we're kind of back to where we started, but it's in a much more positive way.
Yeah, this time it's by choice. And
Yeah. So we just moved out of our offices yesterday and are in the process of setting up servers and doing a lot in the cloud and making sure our employees are taken care of remotely, which is a whole new challenge.
So you're going to be 100% remote?
100% remote. Yeah,
Okay.
We're going to try it and see how it works. We've really been doing that for 2 years, but we didn't officially call ourselves 100% remote because we had an office and we had one person that went into the office that just liked that feeling of being in the office. But everybody else is just thrilled that we're remote. I feel like as management, we get more out of people, not less, because we give them that work-life balance, and so they're willing to give more to us. And so I see it as a win-win, but I know a lot of companies aren't there yet. They're still wanting people in the office full-time.
Right.
I think they'll pay a price for that, but that's just my opinion.
And that's what I'm looking for out of this interview. And you kind of led into my next question, which is what makes you stand out in regards to your employee culture compared to other people in this industry?
Yeah, so we have kind of 3 philosophies at the CMOOR Group. The first one is family first. So work never interferes with family obligations. The second is work hard, play hard. I expect a lot of my people, but we also, like last week, we shut the office down for a day and went up to Huber's and walked around and ate and picked pumpkins, and we paid for all that so that the employees could just have some time off. So we try to do things like that when we can to help them understand that we ask a lot of you, but we're willing to give back in return as well. And then the last philosophy we operate on is that management will not ever ask an employee to do what they're not willing to do themselves. I personally have taken out trash. I have cleaned the kitchen. I have, done all the things that you would think maybe an admin would do, but we all wear many hats here. But I tell people, I'll never make you clean a toilet, and I'll never make you do something that I didn't do myself. But now we don't have the trash to take out because we're all working virtual. But so I think that culture is very important in an organization. I don't think enough companies, sometimes from an executive point of view, understand that. Personally, I think the more women we get involved as executives, the better the cultures will be. That's another problem, is we have too many stuffy white men running the world, and they don't get it. They just don't get the millennials and the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs and all that stuff. But that will be, I think that's also to their detriment.
I agree with a lot of that. So as you've grown your team, did you face any particular challenges, and what did you learn from growing your team?
Yeah, we faced, like anybody or any company, we've had our share of challenges. I think that when your team is growing, you have to have a mindset of communication must be thorough, often, and relevant, so that you're telling people what's going on. If you let employees try to figure it out on their own, they will usually go down a path that is, I think, maybe based out of fear because they don't know, or it's based out of an inability to communicate maybe at a level that an executive should be able to, at least. And so they're left to their own devices, and that can cause problems, right? So we try to communicate a lot. I think that another philosophy that I operate on here a lot is, if it's not in writing, it didn't exist. So documenting everything, no matter the size of your organization, you should document processes, document for your customers, for your employees, for your partners. But taking the 30 minutes or 3 days that it might take to document a project will pay off dividends in the end, because you're not scrambling to do things. If you don't have time to do it right the first time, you're not going to have time to do it right the second or third time either. So just slow down, take your time, do it right, and we all benefit from that. And then I think a new challenge for us is this working in isolation issue, because our employees are remote, as I said, and they, are, I guess they take off for lunch. I guess they play with their animals at home. I guess they have their kids there. I don't really care if the work gets done, but they're isolated from us as a unit. And so we have to reach out in new and unique and creative ways to keep them involved and part of the process, part of the decision making, not a result of it.
You've really thought this through before you pulled the trigger on the fully remote.
Oh yeah, we've been thinking about it, like I said, for 2 years. It's been bubbling in our processes as far as what are we going to do and how will we go remote from a technology perspective. That's a little easier than keeping everybody motivated and engaged when they're all working from home.
Right. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing in talking to business owners, is that engagement is being less and less because of the distance, and it is a challenge. So if you were going to do this whole thing all over again, is there anything you'd do differently?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I did it all right the first time, right? So there are certainly things I would do differently. I think more of, with me, I'm not real low on confidence or ability, but one thing I would do is certainly never back down. I started a company as a young woman in a very male-dominated industry. When I first started, I had companies that would not work with us because they said, you've got a woman in charge. Now, 23 years later, it's gotten much better, but I can tell you, we meaning the women in the industry, still face a lot of those same subconscious/unconscious biases that are out there. And so I know there have been times in my career where I backed down and probably shouldn't have, just operating out of, maybe I felt like I didn't have enough information, or maybe I just was scared. But regardless, I would do that differently. I would be firm in my thinking and acting, and I would keep it moving forward. I always say you're always moving, either backwards or forwards, but none of us stand still. So I would keep it moving forward. Rehashing old things, unless you're learning from the mistake, then it's great. But to keep that weight on your shoulder, I would learn from my mistakes and then let them go and keep it moving forward more.
That's great advice. So what's the future hold for your company? Where are you going?
Well, we're growing quite a bit. especially from a client's perspective. We're adding new services and we're bringing on very large organizations to work with us, which is exciting. But that's more from a organizational perspective as a whole, I guess. If you're talking specifically with employee engagement, what does the future hold for us? I would say more of it. We always need to do a better job at keeping our team informed and feeling a part of and participating. Sitting back and not saying anything doesn't do any of us any good. So we tried to have an open door policy as executives here, myself and my business owner, that would allow people to come in at any time. And finding a way to do that virtually has been a very interesting process, but we're working on it.
Well, I'm excited to learn about a female business owner in a male-dominated industry has been so successful. And how many people are on your team?
We have 8 right now, but we're down a few. We're down a few people. We're not big from a team perspective. We're a very small business, but we are probably going to bring on 2 people in the next 6 months. When you hire, I think you also have to be very calculated in your hiring so that the rest of the team doesn't feel put off. You know, you have to think about the impact it's going to have on the whole, not just the few. And so we take our culture here very seriously. We don't want to bring in people that aren't going to be a fit because it's not good for them or us.
Right.
And so when we do grow, I think we view it a lot of times maybe too seriously, like we're this enormous organization. But I think that an employee wants to feel needed and useful regardless of how big the business is.
Right.
So when I have a vision, I need to learn more probably to share that vision early on. I share it, but probably not as quick as I should.
In my background in human resources fully supports your attitude on hiring. But yes, please share your vision and share it regularly and find out how other people view where they are in that vision.
Yeah, because it's hard to say I'm a part of the team or I agree with this project or I'm giving you my all when they don't know what that is.
Right. Anything else that you want to add for the other business owners that are going to be watching this?
I would apologize for my laryngitis that I've had on the conversation with you, but it's weather related. I'm not ill at all. And I would say keep pushing forward in everything you do as a business owner or as an executive. Second guessing yourself doesn't get you anywhere. Sometimes it's about data and analysis, and sometimes it's just about trusting your gut. I think you have to have a balance of both.
I would agree with that. I've owned a couple of businesses of my own, and yeah, the challenge sometimes is knowing when to have facts and when to have your gut.
Right. I agree.